So thanks, Shlomet, for the nice introduction. I am Sricharan Sundar, and I'm going to talk about my work with Kavya and Dr. Sridhar at the Cognition Lab at Indian Institute of Science. My talk is titled Posner Queuing specifically modulates attention but not expectation. Right. So, what are attention and expectation? So, attention is the process of filtering behaviorally relevant information and filtering out the irrelevant information. Whereas expectation is the process of using prior information. For example, here, you might perceive this as a ship, but in reality, it's just a bunch of meaningless pixels, right? So thus, attention can, both of these processes can modulate either sensory processing, decision making, or both of them. Now, we quantify the modulations to these by a theoretical framework called signal detection theory, and it indexes the sensory processing by a parameter called sensitivity, which we call D prime, and the decision making by a parameter called bias, C, right? We are going to talk about these processes in the context of a Posner queuing task. Now, what is a Posner queuing task, right? It's a very widely used task in attention literature, and it proceeds as follows. A fixation cross comes onto the screen, and then two stimuli come up on the two sides, and then a cue can point to the right or the left location, right? Now, after a little while, one of these stimuli changes or none of them change. And the subject has to respond which one, the right or the left one changed, or by a third response if none of them changed. Now, the cue points to the stimulus that is most likely to change. Now, since the subject has to also localize this change, the cued location becomes behaviorally relevant as well. Thus, they also attend to the cued location. So as you can see, then the attended location, which is the behaviorally relevant location, is same as the location which with high stimulus probability. That is the high probability of change. Now, this begs the question, are modulations in Posner queuing then because of attention or because of expectation, right? One way to study this is to decouple these processes in behavior, and then to ask which one does the Posner queuing modulations correlate with? Does it correlate with attention or expectation modulations? So fortunately for us, a previous study by Wyatt et al. Designed a paradigm to decouple these processes in behavior. And what they observed was that attention modulated only sensitivity and expectation modulated only bias, right? Now the question we asked was, is the Posner queuing an attention queue or an expectation queue? So we looked at it from two aspects. One is behavior and the other is EEG. So now what was this task by Wyatt et al., right? So it's called a response probe task, and inspired by that, we designed a similar task. Our task proceeds as follows. First, there's a fixation cross that comes on the screen, right? And then the color of the fixation cross tells you which side has higher probability of change. After this, two stimuli come up, and 350 milliseconds after this, an attentional cue comes up. This lasts for an exponential period of time, right? And during this exponential period of time, the stimulus doesn't stay on. It stays on for 250 milliseconds and goes off unpredictably between 50 and 300 milliseconds. After this, there's a blank, and then a change comes on. So the change could have happened in both stimuli, one of the stimuli or none of the stimuli, right? The subject then is probed for a response. The subject has to respond whether the stimulus at the probed location, which is here the left location, changed or not. Now the attention cue, which is this, it tells you most likely to be probed for a response, right? It doesn't give you any information regarding where the change is probable to happen, right? So thus here the attention and expectation cues, both of them are statistically independent, and we ensured that that was the case. Now the subjects who did this task also did a Posner queuing task. And as I explained before, the Posner queue points to the location of higher probability of change, and thus the location of higher behavioral relevance, right? The subject had to give one of three responses. Did the left stimulus change, the right stimulus change, or none of them changed? Okay, now let's look at what modulations these behavioral modifications give us, right? So here you have three columns. The first two are from the response probe task. The first column is because of the modulations by attentional cueing, second by expectation cueing, and the third column by Posner cueing. The first row is for sensitivity, and the second row is for bias results. So what we observed with attentional cueing is that it modulated sensitivity, but did not modulate bias, whereas expectation cueing did not modulate sensitivity, but modulated bias, right? Thus, we replicated Wyatt et al.'s results. Now, Posner cueing, on the other hand, modulated both these parameters, right? It modulated sensitivity as well as modulated bias. So to summarize, attentional cueing modulates sensitivity but not bias, expectation cueing modulated bias but not sensitivity, and Posner cueing modulated both. We then investigated which of these modulations did Posner cueing correlate with, right? To investigate this, we first asked whether the Posner cueing modulations correlated with attentional cueing modulations. And for this, we looked at we asked whether sensitivity modulations by Posner cueing was correlated with attentional cueing modulations in sensitivity. And if indeed Posner cueing is an attentional cue, right, these two measures should be correlated. And we did find that that's the case across 19 subjects. Now, then we looked at whether Posner cueing is also acting as an expectation cue. For that, we looked at whether the modulations in bias by Posner cueing correlated with modulations in bias by expectation cueing. And this was not the case, right? So behavioral modulations by Posner cueing correlated selectively with sensitivity modulations by attentional cueing. Now, we also looked at the neural signatures of these processes. And for that, we looked at three measures, right? Steady state visually evoked potentials, which have been implicated in attention, alpha oscillations, which have been implicated in attention as well, and beta oscillations, which have been recently implicated in expectation modulations. And we asked the same question, right? Did the Posner cueing modulations correlate with attentional modulations or expectation modulations? First, let's look at SSVPs. On the y-axis, you have power at SSVP frequency, and on the x-axis, you have time from fixation onset. The solid line is the stimulus onset, and the dotted vertical line is the cue onset. Now, with attentional cueing, what we observed is that, yes, attentional cueing did significantly modulate SSVP power, and that can be seen from this bar plot on the bottom left, that they were indeed significantly modulated. Expectation cueing, on the other hand, did not modulate SSVPs at all, but Posner cueing, on the other hand, did modulate SSVP power, which suggesting that effects of Posner cueing on SSVP power matched those by attentional cueing. Now, what do we see with alpha power, right? We plot the same plot. Y-axis is alpha power, x-axis is time from fixation onset, and the vertical lines are as before. So with attention, what we observed was that attention modulated alpha power post cue, and that was significant, as can be seen from the bar plot on the bottom left. Expectation did not modulate alpha power post cue. Posner cueing, on the other hand, did modulate alpha power. Right? So again, from this, we see that effects on Posner cueing on alpha power matched those by attentional cueing and not expectation cueing. Now, the third thing we looked at was beta band power, right? And beta band power is known to modulate with expectation, right? First of all, we asked whether beta band power did indeed modulate with expectation. And we observed that it did indeed significantly modulate with expectation, right? Now, the question is, if Posner cueing was indeed an expectation cue, we should observe beta band modulation in Posner cueing as well. But what we observed was a null result, right? Attentional cueing and Posner cueing both did not modulate beta band power, right? This suggests that, so to summarize, beta band power was modulated by expectation, but not by attentional or Posner queuing. And to summarize my talk, behavioral modulations by Posner queuing correlated selectively with sensitivity modulations by attentional queuing, but not by expectation queuing. Posner queuing modulations in EEG signatures also correlated with attentional and not expectation queuing modulations, right? So both of these lines of investigation seem to suggest that Posner queuing is indeed functioning as an attention queue, but not as an expectation queue. And that's what we posit. Thank you. And I would be ready to get any emails from you guys regarding this talk, or you can ask me interesting questions here itself. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your talk. It's great to see how old questions still getting attention and novel results. We have one question here by Brandon Chen. I'll read it. Did you manipulate expectation at the block level, as in the wired task? Does this influence the interpretation of the Posner queue as more like an attentional queue? That was the question.
So we did indeed modulate expectation as blocks, because that is important for the subjects to develop it as an expectation implicitly. But what we did was that the motor response that the subject had was not fixed. So the button he had to respond to for change and no change, they were randomly assigned at the end, that the subject got to know only at the end of the trial. Thus, there couldn't be any sort of a motor bias that is contributing to these effects. And to control also, for the blocking that we did in the response probe task, we also blocked the Posner queuing task to control for those modifications that we did to the response probe task. So we do think that Posner queuing is not really an expectation queue, but an attention queue, because we did all these controls. I can't hear you.
Sorry, I was muted. We have 2 minutes for more questions. In the meantime, I'll ask you, I think I saw in one of the slides, CNV, or anticipatory activity. You didn't talk about this, and if you could explain this a little more, the CNV.
That anticipatory activity before the stimulus onset?
Right after. Yeah.
In which result was this?
I think I saw it in 2 conditions that they were separated. But never mind these slides. Did you observe any CNV effect?
So we did not observe. I'm not aware of the CNV effect that you're talking about, but then we did not observe any anticipatory effects as such, because that would show up sort of before the attentional cue comes up, right? If there's any sort of an anticipation. Also, the second thing is that the subjects, the event for the relevant event is the change onset, right? And the subjects didn't know when to expect that change. So because of the exponentially distributed queue, they had no idea when to expect that change. So I don't know if we will even see any anticipatory activity. Over and above that, the stimulus itself was switching on and off, right? So that we did so that the subjects sustain their attention, but then that also has the effect that there can't be any anticipatory activities because of that manipulation. I mean, it would be great to know what you think about that.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, thank you very much again, Switzerland, for your great talk. And we're moving on to the next speaker, Ksenia Kozlova.
Thank you.
Ksenia Kozlova is working at the